Hi everyone, Ellen here again with my last video in my series Coexisting with Agoraphobia, Anxiety, and Panic Attacks. I may make a few smaller videos after this series is over, but for now this will be the last video in this particular series. I entitled this section Always Improving. Because even though we have limitations, and sometimes many limitations, we can always strive to become better and become all that we can be. Once a trusted counselor of mine told me that she thought that I was the only self-actualized agoraphobic that she had ever met. And since I was a young child, that was a word that was very dear to me, ever since I learned what that word meant. I had vowed to myself that one day I was going to become self-actualized. I thought, however, since I developed this intense anxiety disorder, that was probably off the table. So when she said that to me, it really brought tears to my eyes. And I asked her, with all of my limitations and all the things that I couldn't do, how she could possibly think that. And she said to her that being self-actualized only meant that a person was always striving to fulfill their potential. And she thought that I was a person that was always trying to do that. And I am suggesting to you here that we can all do that. It's just a matter of focusing on where you want to go, of thinking about what you can possibly do in any given day, regardless of your limitation and how you're feeling, and be okay with accomplishing whatever you did in that particular day, because no one can ask more of us than to do the best we can at any given time. In my video series, you've heard me talk a lot about the word acceptance, to simply accept where you are at. Accepting yourself does not in any way, however, conflict with the notion of improving. Acceptance simply means, the way I mean it, that you are able at any given moment to just relax with the place you're in, so that you can move forward at your own pace and keep making progress. If you're continually angry because you can't do things, or trying to swim upstream, if you will, it doesn't get you anywhere, So strive to do the best you can with each day and accept whatever that best is for that day. So again, these two terms, accepting where you're at and striving to improve are really not in conflict with one another. Now, many people ask, how did we get this way? I don't know that there's a specific answer. They're still trying to figure a lot of it out. For each of us, it may well be something very different. I personally have come from a background of some abuse and neglect, and I think that probably has something to do with it. And for all of you who come from a similar background, may well, especially if it was very young, when you experience some abuse, we become afraid of the world. If the people that are supposed to take care of us and love us and support us, especially at a very young age, are not there for us, we can grow up very fearful of the world. There may also be a genetic predisposition or a family history for anxiety disorders or panic disorder. And if there's a member of your family that has an anxiety disorder, there's a much greater chance that someone else in the family will develop it as well. It can be a combination of a predisposition to having the anxiety disorder plus environmental factors. If you put somebody under pressure, different things come out than if they weren't put under pressure. So if you suffered a lot of trauma or abuse, and there is a predisposition for the anxiety disorder, it will come to the surface. And it may have always been there, but if you were not did not find yourself in an abusive situation, for example, it may never have come to the forefront. It can also be biochemical. There have been a lot of studies, especially in recent times, about the amygdala part of the brain that can be either larger or smaller or malfunctioning. I'm not an expert, you can look it up. But it is the center of the brain that is responsible for fear reactions. And if that is malfunctioning in some way, that can certainly contribute to extreme cases of fear and anxiety and panic. That's something I'm interested in following myself, actually. Also, certain traumas, something as simple as a hospital stay. I mean, your hospital stay may be for a severe illness, which, of course, then you might be more likely to develop an anxiety disorder, but sometimes even a simple hospital stay can create the feeling of out of control and insecurity, and from that, people have been known to develop panic disorder, have panic attacks, and anxiety disorder. So you see, it's not an exact science, and it may not be as important to know where your anxiety disorder came from, but it is important to know how to cope with it, and that is exactly why I have done this series, to give some tricks and tips about things that have helped me to live the best life that I could. So whether your anxiety is a short-term visitor or it's something you've been living with for a long time, learning to deal with it and learning to cope is a very important process. I've asked myself how I have improved and am improving my life. And what I've come up with basically is the following. I have a great deal of trouble with social phobia, as well as agoraphobia and panic attacks, and I continue to keep trying to expand my world and bring people in it despite intense levels of anxiety. I suppose it's a choice at this point for me to work more on the social phobia and bringing people into my life than it is to work on territorial stuff, and by that I mean trying to go out, in the car or walk far from my home or whatever. Because I've managed to find a way to get my groceries and the things that I need from outside, but my life has been sorely lacking, especially since I've had a lot of loss over the last several years, in that one-on-one contact with people, with personal touch. So I have been putting more concentrated effort in building up my social skills and, again, bringing people into my life. Another thing that I have done recently to try to stretch along these lines is a friend of mine moved recently from up north down here to Florida, and she needed a place to stay while she was looking for a place. And I offered her kind of an open-ended invitation to stay with me until she found some place to live. And that was very scary for me, because I didn't know how long she'd be here. I didn't know how we'd get along. I had known her for quite a while, but she was somebody I met online, and I had, I think, 2 or 3 times only in the last 12 or 15 years had I ever seen her in person. So I didn't know how that was going to go. But I decided, after I had written my book, Behind These Eyes, One Agoraphobic's Journey to a Meaningful Life, that what the most important thing in life to me is connections with people. So I made a very strong effort to try to come out of myself to be there for my friend and to help her out and again stretch as far out of my comfort zone as I could, and it actually went well. In the beginning I didn't know how it was going to go, but it worked out for both of us, and it was a good experience, and we can keep building on things if we just leave ourselves open to trying new things, the things that scare us. In May of this particular year, I also started bringing in some medical people to address some health issues. I had not had medical attention in years and years and years, and I found a visiting physician service, and I decided to bite the bullet and take advantage of it. I was way out of my comfort zone here, and especially because I knew I was going to have a lot of strangers in and out of my house. And, you know, we're scared. We don't know what they're going to find. We don't know if we're going to be able to cope with the tests and all the things that are required to get a full checkup or to deal with certain issues. But I did it, you know, and it helps you to feel more confident, and your self-esteem grows when you feel like you can take care of yourself and remain as independent as you can, you know, just like everybody else in the world. And taking care of yourself is a very important thing to do. I also keep trying to make new friends, and I'm finally getting a little bit successful in this area. I've recently brought a couple of new friends into my life that look like they might be here for a while, and inch by inch I'm developing a new support system for myself. Now granted, I may have to see them in small increments, and that's how it is best for us to do things when we're stretching out of our comfort zone, is to do things a little bit at a time. But I'm beginning to feel that inch by inch my world is expanding once again. I'm currently the owner, I'm currently helping the owner of the home in the back of me to get it remodeled and ready for her to move in. And she lives a little distance from here, so she hasn't been able to oversee it. So I offered to help her. And that's also helped me to stretch out of my comfort zone. And it's a great way for us to practice. Because if you saw my video on systematic desensitization, you'll know that, again, small exposures to the things that fear us, or fearful to us, is the best way to overcome anything. So in this instance, I could go back into the house and observe the workers, you know, see what they were doing and keep on top of it for her, because I had the freedom to come and go, and it was a lot of new people, which was good for me, but I could limit the exposure. I could come and go freely. I could just see them for very short periods of time, and I got used to it, you know, for the most part, and it turned out to be a very good experience for me, and hopefully very helpful to her. I also try to keep up with old friends. I have some good friends that don't live nearby, but a couple of them are within, say, an hour or two driving distance of me. So I try every once in a while at least to have them here for dinner or a movie. And I can't stress enough how important it is to try to keep people in your life and to keep building your world and growing your world. So we're not just always relying on or dependent on the same people. You know, I don't have a family, but if you have a family and you have an anxiety disorder and you're always trying to get support and comfort from the same person all the time, it can be very draining on them. So if you can make your world as big as possible, it's going to be better for everybody, yourself and the people that you have around you. I'm trying to keep up with improvements and repairs on my house, which can be very threatening, because then you have to have strangers come in, you know, to fix things, or the cable guy to repair the cable box. But all of these things help us to feel better about ourselves, even if we have to put up with a lot of anxiety to do it. Eventually we will desensitize a little bit, but overall it builds our self-esteem and makes us feel confident, which can help to limit the anxiety sometimes, as long as we know that we're in there fighting, you know, we're trying our best to take care of ourselves. And the other thing along the lines of dealing with my social phobia and connections was the fact that there was a local reporter, I've mentioned this again in one of my other videos, who contacted me about the possibility of doing an interview, or a series of interviews actually, it turned out to be, for a local newspaper about my life. And I think overall I've had about eight interviews to date, and the next step is to have a photographer come. And this has been huge, a huge stretch for me. But I'm very excited to see the article when it's done, and I'm hoping, my goal is always that something that I say, even if it's just one sentence here and there, will resound with somebody and will help them a little bit. Something else that I have done to try to improve my life is to develop my spirituality. And by spirituality, I'm really talking in terms of connecting more fully to this earth, so that I can enable myself to function better on a day-to-day basis. I do this mainly by reading, listening to audiobooks. I love audiobooks because I can have positive messages in the background all day long while I'm working. I take online courses, and I do regular meditation practices. So whatever it takes, to try to tap into that inner being makes me feel especially good. I have decided for my own life that my inner life is every bit as important as, if not more important than, any outer life that includes, going to the grocery store or, whatever else externally. I'm not saying that's not important. I'm just saying that for me, because it is so difficult, I think developing the human being that I am and trying my best to give of myself to others is every bit as important as something else that I could do or a place that I could go. I'd like to mention here that I have not decided to progress territorially. And by that I mean try to go out, beyond the confines of my house or my property, or to try driving a little bit once again. That's not off the table. I'm focusing on developing my social network, and I think once I have that in place and I feel confident with anyone or some of these people, I may try to venture out again, if I feel safe, to the degree that I feel confident and safe with them, to move beyond the confines of my home and my property. So in conclusion, I suppose that as with most things, the proof is in the pudding. What I have done with my life to date, in spite of massive amounts of anxiety and panic from time to time, is I got my college degree. I managed to work for about 13 years as a mental health counselor. I owned and operated a t-shirt shop, and then when that closed down, I brought the business home, and I'm still doing an online business with custom printing. I managed to take care of my mother by myself from home without being able to leave my home at all for about 4 years, and I did that mostly by using the telephone, whatever means I could. I took care of her health and ran her health care from here, and I was successful in doing it. I was very glad that I was able to find a way to do that. I've had good friendships in my life. I have some new ones, which I'm very happy about. I've had some love relationships that didn't have the endings that I wish that they would have, but I have had them. I've consulted on 2 plays and 1 movie. It came about as a result of a couple of support websites that I've run for Agoraphobia and a few other things. They found me and asked me if I do the consultations. As I said, I'm currently having that article written on my life. I've managed to, in spite of myself, I suppose, to maintain good health. I haven't had to have a lot of medical attention, but I exercise and I eat well. I know I'm overweight, but as far as I know, I have no particular health problems, other than I'm always pulling muscles because of a lot of muscle tension. I also managed to take care of a very good friend of mine at the end of her life, until she passed away. I own my home. I have a car, even though I'm not driving it right now. It gives me a sense of comfort knowing that it's there. And all in all, I have managed to stay relatively independent and have run my life throughout, throughout the years. I found a way to keep my life going. Not always the best way, but I'm still standing. I've had wonderful pets, and as I said, good friends, and I'm in the process of developing a whole new support system for myself. Now, I'm not saying all of this stuff to just keep tooting my own horn. I say it in part. I have a friend of mine that occasionally, when I get down, she told me to write a list of my life's accomplishments, and when I looked over the years with this extremely intense anxiety condition that I have, and I saw what I actually have managed to do, I developed a whole new perspective on my life, and I suggest that might be something that you should do too, because when we're having times of particularly bad times, we get depressed, we get sad, we feel anxious and alone and inadequate. It's not going to be that way forever. So whether your anxiety is a short-term visitor or something you've been dealing with for a long time, I'm just suggesting to you that you accept where you are. Again, there's that big word, accept, on any given day. And do the best you can with it. Have a goal. Try to think of something that you would like to do, like to accomplish. And do the best you can with it. That's all that anyone can expect of anyone on any given day. And if you know you've done your best, be at peace with it. And the next day, you try a little harder. And some days you won't even do as good as you did the day before, and that's okay. And we have setbacks, and setbacks are very much a part of recovery. So don't beat yourself up if you're in a setback. Say, yesterday I could do this, today I can't. That is the way this thing goes. Sometimes just because we did it so well yesterday, we can't do it today because we feel so pressured to do it today. So I'm just suggesting again that you know that you too can accomplish whatever you get in your mind to accomplish. If you stay positive, keep those positive thoughts, and make good goals for yourself, and keep trying to improve. I once had a psychologist friend who also was a medium, it's an interesting combination, tell me that she believed that perhaps the fact that I was still homebound after so many years of trying so many therapies and medications and different techniques that didn't work or worked only for short periods of time, that maybe there was a reason for me being at home. I don't know. Perhaps I was meant to experience the levels of anxiety that I do, so that I could understand it as fully as possible, so that I could share with other people, and maybe something of what I say will be of help to them. All I know is that if I continue to put one foot in front of the other and accept where I am on any given day, I'm going to be okay. And you will too. Living with anxiety is like living with a shadow. The trick is to put the shadow behind you or alongside of you, as I have suggested again in the title of this series, to learn to coexist with it. Let it run in the background. Try not to make it your main focal point every day, and just let it be there. And believe it or not, there can be room for both you and your shadow. I want to thank you all for tuning into my series. I hope that some information has been helpful to some of you. It will make it all worthwhile. And I'd love to hear from any of you through my website if you have anything you'd like to ask or suggest. My website is living-with-agoraphobia.com. And on the website I also have I have a blog. I have lots of tips and tricks that I have used over the years as well. And I also have a place where you can buy agoraphobia support items, t-shirts and Christmas ornaments, things of that nature. So by all means, visit livingwithagoraphobia.com, and you can contact me through my email address on the website if you choose to. Again, thanks for tuning in, and good luck. Namaste.